I'd like to welcome everybody, all of our KB families and our KB case managers and others who are interested in our Katie Beckett Part B program to this PayFlex WebEx today. We're hoping that you all will find this useful as we all are looking to make sure that the user experience with our healthcare reimbursement account is the best possible for everyone involved. We do have PayFlex on here that will take us through a short presentation. I do want to let everyone know that we are using an events format, which means that everyone is automatically muted and cannot unmute. We will do questions by having you all ask them in the chat box. And then we will wait until the end of the presentation, and then I'll go through the questions and ask the folks who might be the best to answer it to chime in as well. Before I turn it over to our program director for the Katie Beckett program, Bo Hickman, I want to recognize some of the other folks who are a part of this, the leadership of the Katie Beckett program. We have our regional Katie Beckett directors. We've got Sarah Edwards in West. We also have Rachel King and in East and Frida Ricks in Middle. I do not see them on, but we also have Brandy Osborne who supports Bo and all of our case management efforts as the Director of Internal Compliance. Did I get that right, Brandy? Okay, I always get it wrong. So yes, once again, just want you all to see that we've got a lot of folks on here that are invested in making this program successful. And before we turn it over to PayFlex, I am going to introduce Bo Hickman, who is in charge of leading the Katie Beckett Part B program for DIDD, to say a few words. Bo.
Thanks, Kara. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We hope this is helpful for you and your families moving forward. I just want to say a few words about Katie Beckett in general. It's absolutely one of the most important priorities of Commissioner Turner and the department itself. This program means so much to so many people, and we've heard that from you guys. We're a little bit north of 2,300 folks right now in the program, with about 300 more to come. So we look forward to expanding the program even more and providing really important services to people across Tennessee. We know you guys have questions. We know the program is not perfect. We strive to make things better. We always will. We promise you that. So with that, let's go ahead and start the program. Kara, thank you.
All right, and just so you know, when you are asking questions in chat, please make sure that it's addressed to everyone, not all attendees, because we will not be able to see it if it's addressed to all attendees. Just make sure in that drop-down box that says everyone. You might have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to get there, but that way we can see your question and get it addressed. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Cardone with PayFlex to bring us through a brief presentation before we get to the Q&A section of this program. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us, and the floor is all yours.
Okay, thanks, Kara. All right, hi, everyone. Thanks for giving me the time and opportunity today to kind of go over our PayFlex Katie Beckett program with you. I will just go ahead and dive right in here and get started. And any questions that you guys have, we'll be able to get those answered at the end of the presentation. So I will get started here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And if you guys can just let me know, if someone can let me know when they're able to see it.
Jennifer, we've got your screen up.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, so we are going to start here first with the PayFlex member website and how you go in and create your profile and get signed in. So you're going to do this by going to the payflex.com website. And when you're there, you're going to see member login. You'll want to go down to the bottom and click on create your profile. And then after that, you're going to have to enter in some information here to find your account. So this is a little bit different than most accounts. So what you're going to do is you're going to enter the ID number, which is actually going to be your child's social security number, because that's how we have them listed in our system. The name is going to be the name of the parent or guardian that's enrolled in the program. So whatever parent it is. The date of birth is going to be the parent or guardian's date of birth. And then you will usually enter the card number. Right now, we're not having, I don't think you have to enter that card information, but typically you will have to enter that information. So if so, you'll need the last 8 digits of that card number. All right, and then after you're done with that, you're going to go ahead and get started. You're going to enter that PayFlex card number here. and you'll enter your contact information, so your email address, phone number, or mobile phone number. And then you're going to request a verification code. You can have it emailed if you have your phone number loaded, or you can click on this and it will also ask for your phone number. And then what you'll get is a verification either in email or on the phone via text. And you're just going to click on I receive my verification code. And you're going to enter that here and hit submit. And then after you verify your account, you're going to create a profile. And so they're going to ask you to create your username and password. You're going to have to set up security questions and provide answers for those. And you will have to review and accept the online service agreement. After you create your username and password, you can also log into the PayFlex mobile app with that, which is pretty helpful. Right? Then once all that's done, you're going to be all set up and ready to go. So now we'll move on how to use your funds in the account. So you will receive a debit card once you're enrolled, and so you can use that debit card to pay for expenses, but please note that debit cards can only be used where the facility is medically coded. So like if you go to pick up a prescription, you have a therapy visit, doctor's office visit, hospital, things like that, the card will work. If you're trying to use it at Amazon, on Amazon or different stores and stuff like that, it most likely is not going to work for you. So in that case, you'll be able to submit a claim. And you can submit a claim on the portal or the PayFlex app. Here's the portal, www.payflex.com. You can mail it to us or you can fax it, and then here again, the mobile app. So now we're going to talk about what's needed when submitting a claim. So when you file a claim on the portal or the app, you'll need to submit an itemized receipt or the explanation of benefits that you get from insurance. And then when you're mailing or faxing, you also have to include a claim form with the request, along with the receipt and explanation of benefits as well. The very important thing to remember is what your receipt must include. So every receipt must have a provider name, a patient name, the date of service, the type of service, and the amount owed. If your receipt anywhere has on there like any estimated, pending, or billed to insurance, we will not be able to process off of that receipt, and we will require the explanation of benefits. So just make sure anything that you're sending does not show that it's an estimate or billed to insurance. That way we can get it paid and processed for you. And if you're sending in a receipt for like a non-medical provider or over the counter, your receipt's going to be a little bit different, and what you're going to need on that receipt is going to be the retailer name. And I know a lot of times people send in like the order online, and a lot of times these receipts don't provide the provider name on there. Sometimes they'll send an email to you saying, we've got your order, and it'll tell you the amount. If you, for some reason, don't have a receipt that shows that, you can submit that with that email that you get to show that here's the amount, it matches the receipt, and here is who we purchased that from. But you'll have to have that the retailer name, the date of purchase, what the purchase was. So we have to know the item that you purchased and the amount you paid. Excuse me. You may also need a letter of medical necessity or a capital expense form depending on what the purchase was. So when you submit a home modification reimbursement request, you want to make sure you include the letter of medical necessity that states what the purchase is and that it's medically necessary, a capital expense form, and an itemized receipt that's going to show the provider name, the date the service was completed, what the service was, and the amount paid for the service. So this is a little bit different because we have to know that this was completed and the date for that. All right, and then next, what does my letter of medical necessity need? So your provider is going to need to fill that out in full. And there is a form, the new letter of medical necessity has an asterisk on a lot of the different items on there. And so anything that has an asterisk, your provider is going to have to be detailed on that. So as an example, if the doctor recommends sensory items, you'll need to specify like what, like fidget spinners, weighted blankets, rock climbing walls, trampolines, things like that. you'll need to make sure that that information is listed out on there, because if it's not, they're going to deny that claim and request that information on that letter of medical necessity. So just make sure it's very specific and detailed, please. Okay, now when should you email the Katie Beckett box? So this box is for escalations. So you should always email if there's an issue with a claim being denied that should not have been. So you'll want to determine first before you email the box, was everything that I submitted correct? So did I submit the itemized receipt or the explanation of benefits? Does it have the provider, patient name, date of service, type of service, and amount? Does it make sure that it doesn't reflect any pending or estimated insurance? If you've sent that, then and it's still been denied, please be sure then you can reach out to us and we'll take a look at that. If you're not able to submit a claim online, you can call customer service, but if they cannot resolve the issue, then you can email that box. One thing I want to let you know, that if you do try to submit something online and you're getting an error, please send in the screenshot with that of that error so we can look into that further, because you shouldn't be getting an error. And we want to see what's going on, to see if that's something we need to fix on our side, like setting a ticket or whatnot. So please make sure you're sending a screenshot with that email request. If you want to know if something is covered or eligible, you can email the box. If you've called customer service and they still did not get your answer, you can email us. If you have a problem submitting a claim online, again, please provide a screenshot of the error to the email box. What should not be sent to the box? So general questions. So any question you have about the account, you should be calling customer service. Claim submissions. So we get a lot of claims just coming in that haven't been submitted, like on the portal via fax or mailed in. They're just coming straight to the box. Those should really be done first. So we shouldn't just be sending claims in there to get processed. Reason is because we have one processor, and that turnaround time for you guys to submit on the portal or mailing it faxing is much quicker than sending it to the box, because we have one person that processes, whereas if you send it the other way, there's many people that are able to go in and process that. If you have any debit card requests or questions, you can call customer service. If you have questions on your debit card substantiation, you can call them, or the status of a claim. Customer service can help with any of that information. Now, if you do need further assistance, you can contact your case manager and they can email the box for you so we can get you some assistance. So we'll move on to debit card questions. So for any debit card related issues, you'll want to call customer service and they'll be able to help you with if you didn't receive your card, if you need a new card because yours isn't working, if you need a card for another family member, you can add, I believe you can request one online on the portal, but if you just want to call in, you can do that and they can order a new card for you. If you have lost your card or it's been stolen, please call. Or if you've had any fraudulent activity, you'll want to call customer service because they will start a fraud case for you on that. Do know that if your debit card is suspended and you need to use it for urgent medical care or any kind of medical care, just let your case manager know, and then they can email the box and ask to activate that card. I just want to let you know that it does take up to 24 hours for that card to be ready for use after we activate it on our side. So how to verify card purchases. So a lot of times you'll get that alert or a letter letting you know that we need additional information because the card wasn't able to be substantiated. If that's the case, what we're going to need is either an itemized receipt or an explanation of benefits so that we can substantiate those and see that those were eligible expenses. And if you'll get a letter from us, or you can also check online, you'll be able to see that it'll say, I think it says take action or verified charge. I can't remember exactly what it says, but you'll know online when you log in that you'll need to do something with that card charge. So here's what to do when you receive one of those overpayment letters. So if you do receive the letter asking you to substantiate, you just have to send in the itemized statement and or the explanation of benefits. If the charge was an error or it wasn't eligible, you can either offset that charge with another eligible expense for the same plan year, or you can actually pay back the account. So you can send in a check or money order, or you can also log into the payflex.com and you can click on your account and you'll be able to pay back that account through through the portal and just clicking on pay back your account. So here is the address that you're going to want to send a check or money order to, is the PayFlex Systems, the Flex department. Or here is how to log into the account. You're just going to click under account activity, select verify card purchases, and then you select your card purchase and click pay back account. If you have any questions on this, you can definitely reach out to customer service and they can walk through that with you. So this is just, again, how do you submit documentation? Again, the PayFlex website, you can log in and do that there. Click verify card purchases. That's what it was. I couldn't remember if that's what it was. And select the unverified card purchase tab. You can do it on the PayFlex mobile app by checking out your alerts, or you can fax your documentation to PayFlex. One thing we recommend is don't highlight anything with a highlighter, because then it kind of blackens it out. So we wouldn't really be able to read it. We'd have to request it again. Or you can mail your documentation to us. And that information was on the previous screen. So common items we get asked about. So security systems are covered with a letter of medical necessity, specialized car seats. If a child is car seat age eligible, we need a letter of medical necessity with a cost comparison. If a child is over the age of a car seat, we would approve the cost as a durable medical equipment item. Diapers are eligible with the LOMN, same as iPads. Apps, purchases of apps for children with disabilities is a covered item with a letter of medical necessity. Home improvements for medical condition, the cost would be covered with that letter of medical necessity and the capital expense worksheet. That worksheet is available on the IRS website, and we can also get them sent out to you if you need one. We have those on hand as well. Respite is considered a medical expense and should be submitted as such. A normal claim form should be submitted, and the respite expense should be listed as a medical expense. A receipt should be submitted with the respite care provider. So what we have to have on that receipt is that name of that provider, the child's name, the date, and the hours watched for respite care, and the billing rate. I know that there's also a Katie Beckett respite form out there that you can fill that out as well. In addition, or not in addition to, but you can choose to have it one way or the other. You guys can fill out something or just fill out that respite form. Mileage reimbursement. So if you need to get reimbursed for mileage for travel to a medical expense, you're going to claim it on the form. You're going to indicate the miles traveled and the date. In addition to that form, we are also going to need either the explanation of benefit or the itemized receipt for the corresponding doctor visit for those. So if you just send in your mileage request without that doctor visit, they're going to deny that and request that information. So make sure you're sending both in. One of the questions I had the other day was, well, I've already submitted my receipts for substantiation for those doctor visits. Can't you use those? Unfortunately, we can't, because we don't have the capacity to go back into all the accounts and look for the information. So that's why we do require you to send it with the mileage request. Sensory items are covered with a letter of medical necessity. Each item should be listed out specifically. Let's get back here. Sorry about that. So the letter of medical necessity form has been updated to include multiple checkbox categories and also provide a sign off for lifetime of letter of medical necessity. Reimbursement timeline, web claims are processed within 2 to 3 business days. Claims submitted through the mailbox can take about 5 to 7 business days. Right now, at the beginning of this year, it's a little bit greater turnaround times just because it's this time of year. So it may be more like 3 to 5 business days and 7 to 10 business days for the mailbox. Debit card verification timeline. When a card purchase is made, we send out the first request for documentation, and then we provide 28 days to submit that documentation. If within 28 days we did not receive anything, we'll send out a second request and give you another 28 days. If valid documentation is not received within 56 days, the card will be temporarily inactivated. I do want to note too, if we do request something from you and you submit it and it wasn't the proper documentation, that could also result in your card being temporarily inactivated as well. So just make sure when you're sending in the documentation, make sure you have the right stuff when you first submit it. That way that does not happen to you. Things to keep in mind is you want to save all your explanation of benefits from your insurance provider and keep your itemized statements and detailed receipts for your card purchases handy. So always hold on to those because we don't know what will need to be substantiated or not. So we don't want you to get rid of those and then end up needing them. So just hang on to those if you can. And again, if you don't respond to the request, your card could be suspended. So be sure to send in requested documentation or payment. After PayFlex receives and processes your documentation, your card will be active again. And if your card is suspended, no worries, you can still get reimbursed for eligible expenses. You just pay for an eligible expense with another form of payment, then submit a claim. Just to let you know, if you do have an overpayment on the account and you do submit a manual claim, it will be applied to that overpayment first. So if you have an overpayment of $500, but you're submitting a claim for $200, that $200 will go to offset that $500. But when you do send in the documentation for that $500, that $200 payment will go back out to you. Reminder that the primary purpose of this box is for escalations. Again, we have one person to process claims and one person to respond to the emails. So if you submit claims through the portal rather than this email box, the turnaround time again is much quicker for you. When you contact customer service, it is much quicker. We should try to keep this box for escalations only. If that happens, escalations can be handled in a timely manner. And that is all I have. Thank you. And I guess we'll open this up now for question and answers.
Great. And we do thank you very much, Jennifer, for that very informative presentation. We do have quite a few questions in the chat box. Before we get to those, I do want to show everyone just one more thing on our Katie Beckett webpage where you can find some information. If I can share. Okay, you should be seeing my web browser right now and seeing that the Katie Beckett site. If you go to the Katie Beckett waiver page on the front page, you will see some general information. Go to Part B services, and you will find at the bottom HRA information. A lot of the stuff that we've discussed, the letter of medical necessity is here, the sample mileage log, the sample invoice for tutoring services, the respite services one that Jennifer mentioned, and also the sample invoice for providers are there. Some of our previous WebExes with PayFlex are there, and some different items as well. I also want to bring your attention to the Katie Beckett HRA guide. You all received a printable version of this via our new email list. But I also wanted to make sure you realize that it is also online with a little contents on the side where you can get to some of the information, including the appendix of eligible and ineligible items. So just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of some of the resources that we had on our website. I am now going to go into the questions and see some of the questions that we've got and get those to the right person to answer. So first one, if we are claiming respite service and it is for different dates on the form, could we just put the last date on the PayFlex portal? Jennifer.
Yeah, you could do that, or you can do the from and through date. So you can use sorry about that. You can use the very first date and the very last date and do a from and through on there.
Excellent. The next is KB money taxable. In other words, will it be counted as an income for the household? Medicaid services are not taxable. This is a Medicaid service and funded. Bo, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think you're exactly right. We set this program up as a Medicaid benefit, even though kids in this program don't have Medicaid, but it is not intended to be taxable, nor is it really income. It's reimbursement or payment for Medicaid related services.
All right, and stay there because you've got the next question. I thought that our case managers were told to no longer contact PayFlex for questions anymore. I was under the impression that we as families must do this now. Bo has some clarification on this issue.
Yeah, and so there was a little bit of confusion recently about this because we need to make sure that we have appropriate release information provided to PayFlex so they can talk to case managers, especially on the phone. So there's a couple of options. We can get parents to sign a release of information, provide that to PayFlex, then customer service will talk to the case manager. PayFlex also has on their site now an option for parents to go in directly and complete the authorization on the portal or on the site, and that way DIDD can talk to them as well if you choose to do that. There's a couple of different ways. Again, we can work with you to sign it. We can send it to PayFlex, or you can go to the portal yourself and put that there and authorize us to talk to PayFlex on your behalf. Another option when people are calling is that we can enjoin the call with you and call PayFlex customer service together and have like a three-way call to try to address the issues that you may have. But no, absolutely not. There was never an intent for case managers not to be able to advocate on behalf of families. In fact, that is one of the biggest things they can do and do frequently. Kara?
Thank you. And I'll just take this as a plug. Thank you to the almost 900 of you that filled out our Katie Beckett survey. We really learned a lot about the value that your case managers do provide to you and how important they are to you. So yes, we always want to make sure that we're here to assist you in any of the processes that you have, be it with PayFlex, be it with your ISP, or be it with some of the other services that you're receiving through Katie Beckett. Next question. If you are registering into PayFlex for multiple kids, do we need to use a different email for each child? Jennifer, I'm going to give this one to you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to actually, Hira is on as well. Hira, they don't need to have a different email address because it's going to be a different social and date of birth. Is that correct?
That's correct. You don't have to have the same, you can use the same email address. Just remember when you're signing up, if you use your email address as the user ID, then you would have to change it for one of the children to be different. So you can have the same email address for multiple children.
Thanks a lot, Hira. Either Hira or Jennifer, you might be able to answer the next one. When submitting verification documents to substantiate charges, why can you not add additional documents received at a later date, i.e., can this button not remain open all the time?
So is this meaning they already submitted documentation and
yes,
then they're resubmitting?
Documentation, but they have additional documents that might support that claim as well. That's the way I read it.
Okay. Hira, I was thinking there was another, like a resubmit that you can upload multiple documentation on that. Is that not on there?
And no, it's only for, once they submit it once, it does not let them resubmit it again. The additional documentation.
Only if they were to like appeal, then that's how they would be able to add.
Yeah.
Okay. So unfortunately, that's not something that we have. They would have to appeal it and then they would be able to add additional documentation. So if they get to that point where they've already submitted and they don't have, they didn't send the proper documentation and they want to resubmit, then that would be something that you would want to send to the email box then.
Okay, so that would be an email inbox escalation. Great. Are advocates covered?
So if advocates are covered, it depends on what kind of advocate. We know we do cover the education advocates, and those are covered with a letter of medical necessity.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Is mileage by the 10th mile rounded up or rounded down?
I don't know. Jen, do you know the answer?
I was going to say, I do not know the answer to that. I was hoping maybe you did.
No, so we can
take that back.
Yeah.
we'll take that back and get an answer and get an answer. Anything that we don't have an answer for today, we'll make sure that we get some answers and send that out on the email list. Did you say we can request an additional card for other family members?
Yes, that's correct. You can. Usually I would just recommend it for the parents to have the card, just so you both are aware of what you're spending it on. So both parents can get a card. You just have to request it, call it in and say you need a card for your spouse. And then you provide their name, and then you can also order it online if you need to.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shira. Are there, and this is another tax thing, are there any tax implications with utilizing the Katie Beckett program? Anything that needs to be filed, and are any forms we can expect to receive for tax purposes? As we talked about, Medicaid services are not taxable. If we find out any information that would contradict that, we will, of course, let you know. Okay, let me read through this next one. This is about folks on the customer service and those specifically that understand the Katie Beckett program. Is there someone at PayFlex that understands the Katie Beckett or the program and the differences between an FSA with an employer? You want to speak to that? I know Hira and Jennifer are both dedicated to the Katie Beckett program.
So I would say my first question is, are they calling the dedicated Katie Beckett phone number? That would be one thing that's important, because these folks on that line are supposed to be aware of how Katie Beckett works. So I would start by making sure, if you're not calling that number, which let me grab it for you. It's the 855-689-8943. Make sure you're calling that number. A lot of the other folks, like other customer service lines, aren't really aware with Katie Beckett because it's very different than our regular programs. So they might not be as knowledgeable on that. So I would say that to be sure to call that dedicated number. And I apologize that someone was trying to, get your child on there to verify the account. That should not have been the case. Hira, did you want to add anything to that?
No, what you provided is correct.
Okay.
Great.
So I would just say to that, Kara, I would just add to Mr. Call, and if he does not have that resolved, I would like for our case manager to touch base with him to see how they can help. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Absolutely. If we are having a sensory gym built, how do we pay the builder contractor for labor and materials?
So you would want to pay for that up front, and then you would submit your claim for reimbursement on that. So you'll send in your itemized receipt with that information, and then we can reimburse you.
Great, thank you. Next question, can the letter of medical necessity be completed by therapists, or must it be a doctor?
It can be completed by therapists.
Great, so that is yes, it can be completed by therapists. Next question, is there a way to have two parallel accounts, especially for divorced parents with high conflict?
I think we had this question and I sent it off, but I don't believe there's a way that we can have separate accounts for that. Hira, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, appreciate that. That perspective, just that this question's been asked and that you had taken it back to get some answers on it. If I engage a daycare person for my son with autism for his days he doesn't have school, can we claim this expense towards Katie Beckett?
Child care would not be eligible from this account, but would be as respite?
Yeah, so that's covered. What I would recommend is don't report it as a daycare charge. Report it as a respite charge, and it will get reimbursed from the program. So make sure when you're reporting the request, you put you put it as a respite care worker who's helping you watch your child.
And that
daycare worker will deny it. Yep.
I'm looking. so the issue about the medical bills and the credit card fee, which we've talked about before, is we in turn file claims 2 to 3 days after the credit card payment to offset the credit card fee. It seems like the transaction department and the claims department do not work hand in hand. Basically, the question seems to be, why does PayFlex not have its own portal just to upload letters of medical necessity?
So you can't just upload a letter of medical necessity. It has to be attached to something. So what I've been seeing is case managers have just been emailing the box with that letter of medical necessity. So if you do have that, you just want to get that uploaded, just email that to the box and I'll enter that information in.
Or you
Great,
can
thank
save
you.
the letter of medical necessity and submit it with when you're uploading your actual claim for that. The first claim that you submit for that specific, let's say you have a letter of medical necessity for a fence. So the claim that you submit for the fence, you can just upload the letter of medical necessity with that claim.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer and Hira. I saw this is being recorded. Will this recording be available to listen to later? Yes. Once we are done, we will put it on that website I showed you. We will also probably send out something afterwards on the email list with a link to it as well, so that you all are able to view this. We did have several people who did indicate and email me that they wouldn't be able to attend and wanted to make sure they would be able to watch it. So we will make sure that happens. Let me go to the next question. Do those who review the supporting documents provided for expenses have access to all previous documents provided, like the LOMN? It seems like we have to repeat a lot of the same documents instead of a new invoice for repeated services like weekly OT.
So we do note the account with a letter of medical necessity, and that comes up as a flag when the processor is processing the claims. So they do see that. Just want to be sure, is it that it's the letter of medical necessity that they're requesting, or is it the receipt? So sometimes we'll get a lot of emails in here where they're saying they need a letter of medical necessity, and I look at it and it's actually the receipt's missing, or maybe the item or the documentation doesn't match what the letter of medical necessity is. So they do have access to that, but it might be the case that it doesn't have the information that you're submitting for on that letter of medical necessity.
Okay, somebody asked for the customer service number. Can you just repeat that number for the dedicated Katie Beckett customer service number? That is also available on the website as well.
Yep, it's 855-689-8943, and I'll type that into the chat box as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of scrolling through and seeing that somebody did ask for that number in the chat box as well.
Okay.
The next question I see is, for security systems, what all is covered? Installation, monthly rate.
I'm sorry,
Both will be covered with the letter of medical necessity.
So installation, how about the, so the installation is covered, but not the monthly rate?
The monthly rate is covered as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Glad I asked for clarification. I claimed mileage on a medical trip. I included a spreadsheet with exact to and from locations. In addition to wanting documentation from the provider, I was asked to do a Google Maps screenshot to prove the distance. That was not mentioned in the presentation as a requirement. Is that required?
I do not believe that's required. Is that correct, Tara? They can just share the mileage with us?
Yeah, so you just share the mileage, and when you submit the mileage, we always ask for an itemized statement or an explanation of benefit to confirm the visit. So what the claims processors have to do is they take your mileage, but they also have to put it in this program that they have for mileage reimbursement, where they put your home address and then they put in the provider's address, and that's how they calculate the mileage as well. But they need your list as well to make sure that what they're your list is the reimbursement request, but they also double check on their end by looking at the provider's address and your home address. Okay.
Can Katie Beckett funds be transferred into an Able Tennessee account? PayFlex, I'm going to ask you if you know this, but we believe here at DIVD the answer is no.
So I have a question out to compliance on this. Here, if you've already gotten this before, know the answer, let me know, but I haven't got an answer because I just got an email with that question just the other day. So I'm just waiting on a response. But Hira, have you had
No.
that before?
I
Okay.
have not, no.
Okay, we'll get some clarification on that since we'll ask PayFlex and see what their compliance says, and that's another takeaway that we'll provide to you all as well. Okay, sorry, does tutoring need a letter of medical necessity? I see that kind of, it looks like that is the question. So if, Jeanette, if I got that wrong, just please let me know, but it looks like is tutoring needing a letter of medical necessity form.
Yes, that is needing a letter of medical necessity.
Great, and we do have a tutoring invoice, a template on our website as well. Are trips to the pharmacy eligible for mileage reimbursement?
I believe yes, anything that's medically related would be. Is that correct, Hira?
I actually don't know about that one, Jen.
Okay, so we'll take that away then too.
Yeah, we'll ask that one too. I'm just keeping a list for myself so I know what we're waiting for. If we paid for a respite service to a private individual, how do we submit the receipts for the same?
They could fill out the respite form, and that form asks for like the person who's providing the respite, and I believe they can sign that, and they just fill out that information. Is that correct here? Is that all they would
That's
need for
absolutely
that?
correct. Yes,
Okay.
that's all they would need, yeah.
Okay, looking through, see the number. Do you need an odometer reading for mileage?
No.
No.
Okay, anything else? I am not seeing any other questions in chat. I think we've gotten to all of them. Like I said, we've got a couple of takeaways. Oh, does respite service need an LOMN, or the LOMN for autism disorder is sufficient?
I believe on the letter of medical necessity, it does require you to check that box for respite care. So you would need that.
Great. Are there any plans to have household cleaning covered? This was a covered expense in another program, so I was just inquiring.
Not that I'm aware of. Hira, do you know if that's something that we're looking at covering?
That's correct. I don't believe we're covering household cleaning.
Okay, I called the number. The number listed answers in Spanish and silence after that. Is this a correct number? I do believe if you wait a few seconds, it will ask you to have your social security number in English as well. Is this the correct number?
Yes, when I saw that pop up, I did call, and you do just have to wait like a few seconds, and then someone will start talking and ask for the social security number.
Excellent. How can we help ensure consistency in review of our claims?
So this is something that we're working on with our claim processors, because I know like there are times when a claim processor will process a claim that it just says vitamins. Truly, it shouldn't be. Like if they have vitamins and they're specific vitamins like omega-3 or melatonin, we really need that specified on the letter of medical necessity. Every vitamin has to be broken out. I know that I've had a few claims that have come in where they had been processed in the past but then denied. So that's something, anytime there's an issue where something was processed before but denied, we go to those claim processors to educate them, to let them know, this is what's needed. So I'm hoping that will start helping, in the future with claims.
Awesome, thank you, Jennifer. Are transition services like job coaching or driver's ed covered?
Those are not covered under the program, though.
Okay. I'm going to wait 10 seconds to see whether or not anyone else has any questions, because I have gotten to the bottom of the chat box, but I don't want to, but since we do have time, I do want to make sure everyone has time to get their questions answered. Once again, I'll remind you all that we do have an email list now where DIVD leadership can communicate directly with you all. We are trying to make sure that we're giving you as much information as we can. Also, I will email my email address, put it in the chat as well. If you ever have any questions about communications or anything like that, please feel free to let me know. And then I think, did we discuss this question already?
Yeah.
Does PayFlex require a Google screenshot to prove mileage?
Yeah, we don't require that. Nope.
Great. Excellent. Okay. Well, we are done with this presentation. Like I said, we're recording it. I will send out on the email list a link probably tomorrow, but it may be Monday, depending on when we're able to get it all posted. And then we have some takeaways with some questions, and we'll look to get those answers for you all on those too. Thank you all very much for coming. We want to make this program as helpful as we can for you. Thank you all so much for filling out that Katie Beckett survey. I have read every single response. Bo has read every single response. There were many of them, and it really does help us understand how we can better serve you all as families in this program and make sure we're doing the best job we can. Bo, would you like to say anything as we close this presentation?
No, I would just add to the comments already, Kara. I really appreciate Jennifer and Hera being on today. Appreciate you guys being on as well and bearing with us as we work through some of these challenges and some of these issues. Frankly, very good questions overall. We appreciate your input, your advocacy, and we will continue to do our best on your behalf. Kara?
All right. All right. Thank you all very much for coming, and we hope you found this helpful. And we are always here to try to help support you all in making this program a success for your children. Goodbye. Have a great afternoon.